Okay, we're going to be looking at page 88 and 89 and talking about the assignment due Friday. And we're still doing pivot chords. We're going to get lots of practice with pivot chords. Let's go ahead and start with page 88. So here we have a fast movement from a sonata by Haydn, and we are going to look at just the first two systems, so just the first two systems of this. And what I'd like you to do is, I'm going to play it for you with the repeat, and of course if you need to hear it more than that, you can pause and rewind, but I'd like you to figure out where the phrases are, what the cadences are, and what keys the cadences are in. So while I'm playing, label phrases, cadences, and the keys of these cadences. Remember, cadences are either going to be authentic cadence or half cadence. So it's either going to end on a 1 or a 5, and then also tell me what key it's in. It looks like it's probably either in E minor or G major. So I will let you figure that out. Okay, so if you've got the cadences and phrases and everything figured out, you're in good shape. I'll give you the answers. And then it starts over. That's where I would sneak in my breath, is right here. Okay, now let's figure out what key. When I was playing it correctly, there was D sharp, and it starts on an E minor chord. I think we can say that this is in the key of E minor. Oh, I need a little M. There we go. That looks terrible. Let me make it nicer. It doesn't erase. Very sad. There we go. A little bit better. All right, we're in E minor. And it looks like when we get here, 1, 5, 6, 1, 5. So we have a half cadence in E minor. And you can't read what I'm writing. Let's try that. Half cadence in E minor. Now, on the next line, we no longer see any D sharp. We see lots of D natural, but no D sharp. And if we go to the very end, we have D, that's a neighbor tone, passing tone. We have D, F sharp, A, C. And we have G and B. And of course, what are we missing? It's incomplete. We're missing the D. It sounds like we've got 5, 7, 1, but in the key of G major. So we started in the key of E minor, and we had a half cadence in E minor. Then we repeated we didn't repeat, but we did a second phrase based on the first one. In fact, da 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 da, we'll call that A. Da 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 da, that looks like an A prime, right? It looks like it's based on the original. And now we have a 5-7-1 in the key of G. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to work backwards in the key of G on Roman numerals, and then we will work forwards in the key of E on Roman numerals. And I'm going to have an E column, and a G column. And I would actually encourage you to pause and try this on your own. Try working forward in E minor, but before you do that, work backwards in G major until you can find a pivot chord. So try it before I show the answer. All right, working back in G major, that's a 2, this is a 6. I probably didn't need to put this many 2s and 6s, but working backwards, I was a little bit myopic. Let's work forward in E minor. So this chord is a 1 in E minor, but it could also be 6 in G major. This is a possible pivot chord. Let's go to the next one. Here we have ACE. ACE is 4 in the key of E minor. So that's also a possible pivot chord. We have 2 good possible pivot chords. The 1 can become a 6, the 4 can become a 2. Now, by the time we get to the dominant, we're already in the new key. Typically, dominants they can be pivot chords, but if you have other options, like a predominant, then usually those are the better ones. Now that we've found some pivot chords, we're going, obviously we have 2 choices. Do we feel like we're already in G major at this point? Probably not. This probably still sounds like a 1. Maybe this is our best option. So this is technically correct, but I think this is the better answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to erase our previous, and then we're going to pick just 1 pivot chord. And let's pick this one here. And there we have it. We're in E minor, then we get to the 4, pivots to the 2, and then from there on we are in G major. Let's do the next one, Mozart. And go ahead and start by figuring out the starting key, and then figure out the ending key. And if you like, go ahead and start seeing if you can decipher where do we change from our opening key to our ending key. We do have 2 phrases in here, and that might also help you out, because if you can hear the phrases, then you're hearing the harmonic goals, and that better tells you where the modulation is. I'm going to play it for you. Yeah, very lovely. So I'm hoping you have our starting and ending key at this point. Starts in F minor, and if you're not sure about the ending key, we have a mi, re, do, and check this out. So, do. We've got a so do and a mi, re, do. We are ending in the key of A flat major. And it's a little bit tricky to spot the 5/7 because there's so many non-chord tones. But there it is. E flat, G, E flat, D flat. Yeah, so we are modulating from F minor and then eventually going to A flat major. It looks like this whole top line is in F minor, and we get sort of an IAC over here. An IAC in F minor. So notice that we are still in F minor there. We had a 5 in first inversion to 1. But at some point we need a pivot chord. This would be a great place for you to pause and figure out your pivot chord from F minor to A flat major, and then I will put up the answers. You'll notice that again I'm working backwards first in the new key. This one was a little tricky because all I had was 2 notes, but we have 1, 2, potential 6, 4, 5, 7, 1. Here we have E flat, G, B flat, D flat. This is definitely telling me we're in the key of A flat because it's not E natural. If we're still at F minor, I would expect to see more E natural, and here we have E flat. So this is a 5, 6, 5 of 1. Let's keep working backwards. And when I get to this D flat major harmony, my alert system is going off because I realize we're already back to 1, so probably we need to be looking for a pivot. And D flat major not only works in the key of A flat, D flat major also works in the key of F. And voila, this looks like a good pivot chord. 6 in F becomes 4 in A flat, especially since the next one is a dominant in that key. So there it is. We're in F minor. We get to 6, the 6 becomes the 4 in A flat, and then we continue in A flat. Remember, pivot chords always have 2 Roman numerals. There's a Roman numeral in the old key and a Roman numeral in the new key, and then do one of these. I'm all done with the old key deletes things. I don't know, what is that? It's an L that fell over. Let's do page 89. So, by the way, the assignment for Friday is the bottom part. This is your assignment that's due at the end of the week, is the bottom section. We're going to look at the top section so that way you'll know what to do. Step 1 is we need to listen to it and we need to label cadences and key areas. It's pretty easy to see where the cadences are because they've got the fermatas. Now here's the thing, is anytime we get to one of these fermata notes, it's either a Roman numeral 1 or a Roman numeral 5. When you get to this, it's either a 1 in F major or it's a 5 in B flat major. Make sense? You're going to have to use your ear to decide if it's a 5 or if it's a 1, right? Hopefully you'll be able to hear whether it's a 1 or a 5. The other thing that will help you is looking at the accidentals. If this is in the key of F major, what would be the accidental we would need? F major has only 1 flat, so we would need to see E natural. I don't see any E naturals. You with me? Since we definitely don't have E natural, this is definitely going to be a 5. We're not in the key of F. We're still in the key of B flat major, and it's just coming to a 5. So you're going to have to do that with all of it. Now I will tell you this, if you get to a chord, if the goal chord is minor, there's no way it can be a 5, so you know that's a 1. The only time that you have to figure out whether it's a 5 or a 1 is if it's a major chord, because that could be a 5 or a 1. Minor chords are always going to be 1. I'm going to play this, and I'm going to make some mistakes, and I'll do it slow, and I'll do my best, but listen and see if you can tell me if these are either 1s or 5s, and what key are they in. Now, if you didn't catch all that, listen to it again and see if you can figure out what all the harmonic goals are. What key and whether it's a half cadence or an authentic cadence. Go ahead and figure that out, pause it, because I'm going to put up the answers. Okay, I put up 3 of the answers for us. Looks like it has a half cadence in B flat. Then it has an authentic cadence in G minor. And notice that I wrote the B flat higher and the G minor lower, so that way when we do the pivot chord, we'll have a spot for them. This one I put a question mark. It's B flat major, but is this a 1 in B flat, or is it a 5 in the key of E flat, right? B flat's the dominant of E flat. And I want you to be thinking about that. Is this section going to B flat major, or is it actually in E flat major, and that's a 5? And then of course at the very end we get a big cadential 6/4 in the key of B flat. I think you will find that this section here, so first of all, we cadenced in G minor, so we know we're starting off in G minor. But what key does it go to? I'll give you a clue. A flat, A flat, A flat, A flat. Oh, we do have one A natural, look at that. The fact that we have so many A flats suggests that this is actually a 3 flat section, 3 E flats. And if that's the case, then we're probably not in the key of B flat, which is only 2 flats. We're probably moving to to the key of E flat major. And this is probably a secondary chord. Something like that. And if we even go back one more, here we have A flat, C, E flat. And so this is Roman numeral 4. And I will tell you that this one is 565 of 5. All right, so here's what we have to do is when we go to G minor, we'll work backwards in G minor, and then we'll go forwards in B flat, and we'll look for a pivot. Similarly here, go backwards in E flat, go forwards in G minor, and find a pivot. And then lastly, we will go backwards in B flat, our ending key, and go forwards in E flat, the current key, and find the pivot. Why don't you try that on your own? Look for a pivot between B flat to G minor. Look for a pivot from G minor to E flat, and then look for a pivot from E flat back to B flat. Go ahead and work that out, and you can pause, and then I'll show you the answer. All right, I didn't have any trouble working back because I knew this was a passing tone. Very mean. By the way, anytime you have multiple notes to pick from, try doing the analysis with the first note, and if it makes no sense at all, try doing the analysis with the second note. And I think you'll find that you can figure out which one is the non-chord tone. And here we have a 4. This is a secondary chord, 5, 4, 2 of 4. And this is 1. So if we wanted, we could actually just pivot right there. It seems to go into G minor pretty quickly when we have 5 to 6. We could also pivot over here. This is also a good spot because this is a 2, and this could be a 5, 4, 2 of 2. So we actually could pivot 6 going to 1, or we could pivot 2 going to 4. So we have some options. By the time we get to this A diminished, or A half diminished chord, we're probably already in the new key. So we can either do this one or this one, take your pick. Generally, it's not good to pivot on secondary chords because they're not in a key. They're in another key. They're not in the one we're going to or coming from. So whatever one we decide to pick, we can just stick with that. They both look good to me. I don't know. I'll pick this one. If you pick the other one, that's fine. So there we have it. 5, 4, 2 to 2, 5, 4, 2 of 2 to 2, and then the 2 in B flat becomes the 4 in G minor. So same thing over here. We're going to work forwards in G, work backwards in E flat. We already have a 5-1. I'll just pivot there. The 1 in G minor becomes the 3 in E flat. This is kind of an abrupt 3-5-1. It sort of pulls us out of G minor, pulling us to E flat. I guess it works because we have the contrary motion in the bass and the melody. And then of course lastly we'll do this one here. So we're going to go backwards in B flat. This looks fully diminished. That's our 7 to 4. And this is, we're still in B flat. We're still thinking in B flat. This could be 4. Maybe this one here? So again, there were multiple potential pivots. We could have pivoted there. I just figured maybe this 4, the C minor, could become a 6. I'm hoping that this is giving you more practice. Now, you're going to do this bottom one on your own. And let me first say, I do not expect you to get this all correct. I want you to try, and I want you to make mistakes, and I want you to do your best. But your assignment is to go ahead and do this. You'll need a starting key, and you'll need to pivot anytime that it moves to the new key, and you'll need to let me know what those keys are. So again, do your best. I've included a recording so you can listen. I don't expect you to get it 100% right, but I want you to better understand the concepts. That's it for today. Thank you.